Hey, what's up, YouTube? Welcome to the Six Figure Morning Show. We give you the best advice in the areas of business and life. It is currently 3 a.m. where I'm at. I'm outside of Nashville. I've been up since about 2 a.m. Get asked a lot of questions on this channel, and I do the best I can to answer them and keep up with a lot of them. And one of them that I got the other day was health issues. And I kind of briefly touched on that, but I want you to know that if you go down this road, you are going to lose sleep. You're going to see all this crap on the internet that tells you get 8 hours this and that. And yes, you need to. I completely agree with it. But is it possible? Probably not. Not until you make it. You're going to be tired. You're going to lose sleep because if you want more, you're going to have to do more. If there are things that haunt me and wake me up. I'm serious. And some of you have that drive and you know what I'm talking about. There are things that wake me up at 1:30 in the morning and remind me that I haven't done enough. I'm not doing enough. And then I can't go back to sleep. And I get up and I go do what I got to do, or I start my day in some form. I read my chapters. I make my content. I do whatever I got to do in some form before I go to work. It is usually about a 16-hour day over here. And you guys have already witnessed some of that. You've already seen me film some of that. It is usually about a 16-hour day. Sometimes it's 18. Right over here. I need you to understand that I'm a slave. And so are you. If you're watching me, if you're listening to what I'm saying, you are a slave. My kids will be slaves. Your kids will be slaves. Your grandchildren will be slaves until somebody in your bloodline decides to break that cycle and save them. If I wake up dead and I own the freaking railroad, but I have no cash, I'm fine with that. If I wake up at 70 years old and I own a successful heating and air company and I have no cash, but I have a great business and a great business model that is working, I am okay with that. As long as I have taken the proper steps to teach my sons the business model and to teach them everything that I know, then this can carry on. And they can have an opportunity and a chance to break away from slavery. But for to come into comments and argue with me, knowing that you're a slave lesser than me, I'm appalled. It's puzzling. It's puzzling. It really is. Because if you want to break the chains, if you want to get away from bondage, from captivity, I'm trying to lead you there. I'm trying to save you and your family. And this is the beginning stages, and you want to argue with me about it. You want to tell me how to throw your money into the system so master can know what your plan is to escape. You understand? You're a gladiator. And the only way for you to get out of this hell is to step into the arena and fight. It's the only way. And you're going to have to fight until you win or die. That's the only way you're getting out of here. But a lot of you are scared to step in and fight. You're sitting on the sidelines. I can't be any more clear than that, man. You're a slave. And for you to come here and argue with me about anything, I'm not always right. There sometimes are better ways. But if I'm telling you my way, and I know my way works because I've done it twice, I'm doing it for a third time, and I tell you my way works, then who are you to argue with me when you haven't done it? Who are you to argue with me when we're not even reading the same book on the same page? We're not at the same level. I'm serious. If you're out of shape, who are you to argue with the man that works out every day about getting in shape? You know what I'm saying? If you can't run 10 miles, who are you to argue with the man that's telling you how to run 10 miles? You're going to have to lose your ego to raise your bank account. I do not understand where a person that has no money chooses to argue with somebody that does. Lose your ego to raise your bank account. I've told you guys before that I talk to millionaires every day. I talk to at least one millionaire a day, guaranteed, 5 days a week, at least. Do you think if I sat around arguing with them about the information they told me that they'd want to talk to me again? Even if sometimes they tell me things that I don't agree with, I shut up. I take the information I need and I leave the rest, because sometimes the little gems that they give me are more valuable than the entire conversation. I could get a 1 minute piece out of the conversation of an hour long conversation, and I might only retain 1 minute that was so valuable. You're not going to make it. You're going to be stuck doing your daily duties. You're going to be stuck hoping for a better life if you're not willing to sacrifice and drag yourself through the mud for you and your family. You're not going to make it. To come and argue with me, it's not going to happen, guys. But I get asked a lot of questions, and health wise, that's one of them. You're going to wake up, things are going to haunt you. If you're serious, some of you know what I'm talking about. If you're serious and you're trying to get there at a high rate of speed, things are going to haunt you, because you're never going to feel like you're done. You're never going to feel like your day's over, and you're never going to feel like you've accomplished what you set out to accomplish at the speed you tried to accomplish it at. It's not going to happen, guys. What's the long-term effects of this? I don't know. I'd say it's not the worst thing in the world, because people have ran on this for years. People way more successful than me and you. Tom Cruise still wakes up at 4 a.m. every morning like he's never made a dime. I'm sure there are days he sleeps in, but he still wakes up and hits the gym every morning at 4 a.m. like he has never made a dime. You have to move with a sense of urgency, and you have to learn to move as if there is pressure on your back, because it probably is. You need to be honest with yourself, and you need to look at your kids. Do they need braces? Do you need braces? Your kids got good shoes? Your kid's in a good school? You living in the ghetto? You get what I'm saying? You need to be freaking honest with yourself. Look at your life, look at your situation, and say, hey, maybe I need to shut up. Maybe I need to sit down and listen and retain all the information that I possibly can, from whether it be me, people like me, people way ahead of me. It doesn't matter. But you got to be honest with yourself and say, man, my kids need braces. My kids need help. My kids are going to grow up to be slaves, because that's what it is. They may not be cracking a whip and putting chains and shackles on you, but you're in bondage. We all are. Like I just told you, man, you're a freaking gladiator, and you're afraid to step into the arena and fight for your freedom. And this is how you do it. Micro and macroeconomics. So microeconomics is the study of individuals, of entities, of small business, large business. Let's go with macro first. Macroeconomics. I was asked to explain this. Excuse me, guys. Let me get a cup of coffee. Let me get a little drink. I was asked to explain micro and macroeconomics using the river method. And that is a little difficult to do. So you can explain money using the river method that I came up with. Maybe others have had it. I don't know. I came up with it myself. I never heard this from anybody, so I came up with it. But again, in 2024 and the future beyond, it is almost impossible to be original. So somebody in the past has probably used the fact of money is like a river, because it is a currency. Anybody that deals with finance understands that money has to keep moving. Money can't just sit stagnant. It has to move. But before you come for me in the comments, in order for money to move, you have to have money. So the more powerful of a current flowing movement that you want, the more money you will need. I tell you guys to look at your money as little armies, little army of dollar bills. Each dollar is a soldier. So, I mean, you want to send out a little squad, you want to send out a platoon, or you want to send out a whole freaking battalion. You get what I'm saying? You need to look at it in this manner. You're fighting a war. You're a gladiator in the arena, and you're fighting for your freedom. Okay, we on the same page? So if we look at this from macroeconomics is the study of countries. It's the study of governments, why they do. And it's honestly, it's about to be the study of planets or worlds. And I say that because when you project yourself out, mountaintop thinking, when you project yourself out, we're headed to Mars. Okay. That's going to happen. And I don't know if we'll be alive for it. I don't know if it's going to be a decade, 30 years. I don't know. I would say that you're going to see somebody living on Mars within the next 10 years. Somebody, not people, but somebody will take that leap. He will be the Neil Armstrong, so to say, of our lifetime, and he will go live, or she will go live, or maybe a small family will go live on Mars. And they will start getting it set up and established for other people to come over the course of, say, the next 50 years and the next 100 years. Break it down into little puddles if you need to. So we will be moving macroeconomics into planetary. Right now, it is country and government. It will go to planetary. So you might as well project yourself and start thinking that way. That's how you get ahead of the game, guys. If money is like a river, you have to jump in where the money is flowing. Where is this money flowing to? Once you see it, you may not know how to get to Mars, but if you know that we're going that way, jump in. Jump in on your level of understanding. Jump in the water and say, hey, man, I don't know how to get to Mars, but I do understand fuel. I understand jet fuel, or whatever it is that you understand. I understand freaking whatever parts go into aerodynamics of building rockets and spaceships. Maybe you understand that and you know how to fabricate some of these things. Maybe you have ideas. Whatever it is on your level, if you know we're headed that way, then on your level, jump into that river, jump into your own stream, start paddling, start swimming in that direction. So macroeconomics is a study of countries and governments right now. And it's hard to do that in a river method because it's more of a ripple effect, dropping a pebble into the pond. Whatever these countries and governments choose to do, it sends everything out. So if war breaks out, and like it's doing over in the Middle East, if war breaks out, then it starts to affect everything in the micro. Micro being the study of small business, of large business in one country, in one area. Micro being the study of individual people. Micro being the study of local states, county, state, your local governments. That is micro. So a macro effect would be a war taking place. And then in the micro, that war trickles down to, hey, you know what? Or a macro effect would be that, something happened in South America. So a macro is something happened in South America, and a micro is that now we have a supply issue on coffee beans. We're not getting coffee now. A macro is what's going on in the Middle East, and now we're shifting and moving into micro, our military over there. So now we're about to start doing funding. There's going to be a lot of things but that's going to be a catastrophic micro effect, because it's going to affect everything. It's going to affect scrap. It's going to affect metal. It's going to affect gold and silver. When there's wars, it starts to affect so many things that go in place with wars. It's going to affect lead and copper and ammunition and firearms and everything. So when there are major wars, it starts to affect everything on a micro scale. It affects everything micro and macro, but we're talking micro scale for understanding. It starts to affect everything. Look at World War II, what took place. And the reason I use that as an example is because you hear more about it in the history books about the women working in factories, people having to give over their freaking silver, so on and so on, to make bullets and lead and all these different things. So that is micro and macro economics in a quick nutshell. Macro is large. So you have to learn how to think large, like, okay, this government did that. How is that going to affect me here? Me being the micro, how is that going to affect me here? And I realized, like, okay, man, if they just did this, if we just had a major earthquake in South America, I'm probably not going to get coffee beans for a minute, or whatever it is that I'm getting from South America. If we just had something horrible happen in China or Japan, my electronics and a lot of things, a lot of goods, knowing they come out of China, are about to be affected. Okay. Micro macro kind of thing would have been if they stopped, if the The longshoremen, if they stopped the tankers, if they stopped the supply chain there of sending in the ships from overseas, if they would have stopped that a couple weeks ago, macro, they would have stopped that. So it would have hindered the process of all goods and supplies, coming here. Micro, meaning you'd have went to Walmart and you would have not been able to find, certain items in there. Television sets would have been down. Your freaking coffee beans, your food, a lot of things that we get from overseas would have been down. I can't think of anything off the top of my head that we get. Leave it in the comments below if you guys understand what I'm saying, if you have more questions about it. But a lot of things that we get from overseas would have went down. For some reason, I'm stuck on coffee beans. I can't think of it, probably because I got coffee right here. I can't think of anything else, but your clothing. You would have seen the clothing shelves go down. Your shoes, a lot of things like that come from Taiwan and China. They come from overseas. America isn't making things. So if you want to thrive, people are craving for authenticity. They're craving for made in America again. Made in America, brother, sisters, get to it. So that is micro and macroeconomics, using more of a pond ripple effect than a river system, okay? So I hope that helps. If that doesn't explain it the way that you would like, let me know and we can dive into it a little deeper at some time. Leave it in the comments below if you guys got questions about that. I was asked by Maneater about leveraging cash. And so what I assume and think that you're asking me is more of a margin and margin investing. So I'm going to go ahead. So if we stay away from, I want to stay away from margin for a second, and I want to explain to you leveraging cash on a small level. Now, this is harder to do. This is just an old dope boy hustle. It's an old drug dealer's hustle. Way back when, this was a con man's hustle. Then it became a drug dealer's hustle. And now it is going to be very hard to do. But the reason I say it's very hard to do is because things have sped up. In the 1930s, you could have conned your way into this, and you could have done it over and over and over again, and you would have gotten away with it for a very long period of time, man. You might have been able to pull this off for almost a decade back then, depending on the scale that you were doing it at. Fortunately, for me, I grew up before the internet became what it is. And I want you guys to fully understand the internet is still a baby. So if you have ideas for this, don't feel like you'd have no room to grow. This is still a baby. Facebook is so amateur. Instagram, YouTube, all these platforms are so amateur to what is coming over the next 20 or 30 years. You need to project yourself outwards. This is amateur stuff compared to what is coming over the next 20 or 30 years. You have my word on that. You're going to look back like, man, that dude Robert Edson one line. This is amateur. Most people can't think of the future. So if you have tech skills, like I just told you, if you need to zone in the micro of technology. So if you have skills and you're so worried about keeping up with the world and everything, you need to stop. You need to zone into your own micro, focus on your own controllables, all right? Your own economy. All I'm good at is tech. All I know is applications. All I know is whatever involves with tech. And zoom in on the micro for you. How can you speed this up? Where is the technology river flowing? How can you speed this up? Because right now we're at a stream. This is a baby. What does 30 years of this look like? Eventually, I'm just going to hit a button, bink, and this is going to upload. YouTube will turn, if YouTube still exists, which I imagine YouTube will become more of a television platform over time. I could see it going that way. Zoom will become what we see as a YouTube right now. And YouTube will become of a Netflix. And Netflix will become your cable provider. It will become your in-home provider. You get what I'm saying? It may not be that. Those companies may change, but am I making sense? I hope so. Leave in the comments below if I'm making sense of where you see technology and these platforms going. I'd really like to know that, because me reading your guys' comments, it allows me to expand and think, because I'm getting to hear from the masses, and I like that. I like to be able to read your comments and hear and think. So let me know what you think that these platforms are doing, because I'm not up to date on everything. I don't have TikTok. I don't have these other platforms, and I'm very curious to what you guys think about them. Um, so, man eater, man, you're asking about margin investing. Let me go back though, man. Let me go back. I got off track. I'm sorry. So we were talking about the con man hustle. In the 1930s, you would have been able to do this for probably a decade and carry on. And I was fortunate enough to grow up before the internet took off, and you could do this in the 70s, 80s, 90s. You could still do the same thing, but not as long, and you only had a certain amount of time and a window to how much you could do it. So now it's probably difficult. You probably only got maybe 2 times, maybe 3. I don't know, man. I hadn't done this stuff in years, but this is just old dope boy hustle, man. So say the way that I can leverage cash. Say I got 10 grand. I can take that $10,000 and I can take that and I can go to a bank and they will hold my 10,000 and tell them, you could try for 15. With 10,000, you could try for 15. They might hit you with 13 or 13.5. I don't know. But let's just, for math purposes, let's say that they give me 15. I take that $10,000, I give it to the bank. I say, hey, I need to borrow 15,000. What do you need it for? I need to do some home renovations. Okay. Well, what do you have for collateral? That's what they're going to ask. Well, I got 10,000, but I need 15. So I'm like, oh, okay. They're going to take your 10 and they're going to lock your $10,000 away. It's not gone, but it's not yours no more. And they're going to put it away and they're going to give you a loan for 15. And then you can take that loan for, I want you to understand that it could get you in some hot water. Okay. Just want you to fully understand that. I'm not telling you to do this at all. But then you take that 15 to another bank and you say, hey, I need to borrow some money. And they were like, okay, what do you got for collateral? How much you need? And be like, well, you could try for 25. Like, okay, well, I got 15. I was needing 25 to do some home renovations. And they're going to say, okay, we can give you 20. And you're going to say, okay, and you take that 20 and then you carry on and you keep doing this until you get enough. This is why I say this was an old school con man hustle. And you kept doing this. You kept leveraging your money until you got enough. And then from there, and this worked, that the reason I say it's harder now is because 1930s, the systems were so slow, nobody was going to know. You could keep going on and on and on for years doing this type of stuff. As the 90s went on, the systems got speedier and speedier, get what I'm saying? And now we're in 2024, 2025, it's lickety split. So as soon as you take that money, it's already in the system and then it's going on to somewhere else. That's why I say that you could probably do this twice, maybe 3 times. You could probably do this 3 times. And if you did this, you would need to do all this within the course of like 1 or 2 days. You got 24, 48 hours to do this. So I don't recommend it, but that's just one way to leverage cash to get to where you need to be. And let's say that you had, on a decent scale, you had 50 grand. Listen, matter of fact, you even mentioned that Hustle Smarter, Hustle Harder book. 50 Cent even talks about it in there, man. But he does it on a massive scale. So let's say you got 100 grand, you go to the bank and you borrow 150. He talks about doing it, I believe, with $1 million. You take $1 million, you go to the bank and you borrow 2. You're leveraging your money. So that's on a large scale. I just did it on a smaller scale so people could understand from their bank account. But as for me, if I took all my money to the bank and I say, hey, man, I got, 200 grand, I need to get 3. I have this going on. They're going to say, all right, well, what do you need it for? Because they're going to look at me and they're going to say, okay, well, this dude obviously smart enough. He's got 200 grand. They're going to want my 200 grand. And he's going to say, well, he's smart enough. He's got 200 grand. So what do you need it for? And I'm going to say, well, look, I got this, and this going on. I have this, and this idea. The shit better be legit on that scale. And they're going to be like, all right, man, then we're going to give him a shot. We're going to hold his 200 and we're going to give him 350. That's how you leverage your money. Another way that, I hope that makes sense, man. If you got any questions about that, feel free to ask me in the comments below. I do not mind explaining that a different way. Another way, which is my personal favorite to leverage money, is almost using equity or using, oh God, I can't think of the word. Goodness, brain fart. Can't think of the word, but it's almost using equity. So basically I go out, I tell you guys all the time, I look for cheap properties, $35,000, $50,000 houses. I look for things like that. So I go, basically I buy this place for cash. And then I tell the bank that, hey, I have this home. It's appraised or appraisal value. That's what I was thinking of. Use the equity or the appraisal value. I have this home. And it's appraised at say $75,000, and I paid 50 for it, and it's already appraised at 75. It's a little crappy house, but I tell the bank, like, let's say I have 50 grand and I have no more money, and I want to secure this house, and I'm kind of in this situation right now. I'm going to leave send a link out to a house that I'm looking at. I'm gonna add it into the comments. But I'm kind of in this situation right now that they're wanting too much for a property. I'm looking at a house right now to buy and remodel, but I have enough to purchase, but I do not have enough to remodel. So I'm wondering if I'm going to do this myself right now. I don't know. So here it is. Sorry for rambling. Let's say that I take my 200 grand, I buy a house, and that's all I have. I go to the bank and I say, look, I own this house. It's appraised at say 250. I own it outright. Here's the title. I would like to borrow whatever. You can borrow the 250. You can say you want to borrow 300. I'm going to say 300 off of this. I have the home. It's appraised at 250. I would like to borrow 300 to finish up the remodel, blah, blah, blah. Or you don't even have to do all that. You could just say that, hey, I got this home. It's appraised at 250. I just need another 100 grand to finish the remodel and sell it, and I'll get you guys right back. That's a different way that you can just leverage your cash, because the bank loves to have a buffer in between. And they're going to make that deal because you obviously own that home outright. So they know that if you don't pay them, they're just going to freaking leverage that house against you. You get what I'm saying? They're going to levy it against you, man. So that's what I tell you guys about being careful, because the more things you see, I'm playing this game freely. If I lose, I lose. There's nothing that anybody can come and take from me right now. So my own personal situation with child support and things I've explained to you guys is mine. It's my situation, and it doesn't have to be yours. If you're not in that situation, don't worry about it. But as for me, and I honestly, man, I'm going to wake up and I'm still going to be playing the game somewhat in this similar manner, because I'll never forget what happened to me. So I'm always going to protect myself because I know what can happen to me. So let's say I get this home that I'm looking at. So the home I'm actually looking at is for 250. I'm not going to pay that because it's too high, but I'm trying to make an offer for 150. If I make an offer on this home at 150, I'll make sure to leave a link to it on this video somewhere. But if I make an offer for this home for 150, then that's going to take all my money, and I won't have the money for the remodel. So I'm going to have to go to the bank and say, look, I have this home. It's appraised at 250. I would just like to extract that out. Okay. And they're going to like it. They may not give me the whole 250 because they want to still have opportunity to make money as well. So they may say, we'll give you 175, or they may say, we'll give you the 150 back. I'll take the 150 back and I freaking apply that to the remodel, sell the home, give the bank back their money, give my money. And everybody's happy. I take my profits, pay my taxes, and I go. And everybody is freaking happy. So I hope that explains. If you got any questions about leveraging money, like that's it. You're basically using your money to get more money, because the bank will see. And I believe you have character, man. I believe you're the type of dude that can do this, because, excuse me, having character, having drive, having ambition, when you walk in to see your banker, sometimes that makes a world of difference. Okay, and eventually we're going to talk about making first impressions, the way you should dress, the way you should conduct yourself. We will eventually talk about that, because all these things do play a role. So please do not ever think that just because I sit here in a t-shirt at 3 a.m. before I go to work that listen, guys, do not ever assume that you really know me. I still work a full-time job, but I dress and move and conduct myself. I'm being very nice and lenient on this channel. I'm trying to play the game of YouTube. I'm trying to stay around for the masses right now. So that's what I'm trying to do. So I'm being very nice and lenient. Okay. But if you think for a second that people, I don't even want to say like me, that people way above me will not take a bite out of your ass and chew you out and kick you down this, man, they will leave you where you stand. Everybody's not playing games, man. So you guys that don't come in the comments, like, I want you to understand that it's highly likely you're not going to make it if you assume that people are just going to laugh, joke, and fart around with you. People, do you think the man that owns the freaking railroad is trying to laugh and joke with you? Do you think he is not running on a high level of stress, ready to beat your ass? Like, yeah, he might smile and shake your hand, but he is, guys, it's not a game. It's not a joke. And a lot of people are playing to win. So I don't understand why you don't understand about what I'm saying. But it's obviously that we're not on the same level and we don't have the same mindset or attitudes. And that's cool, man. That's your life. You choose to live it how you want, but don't come at me for living mine the way that I do. And I'm not wrong. To you guys really listening to me, I'm not wrong on anything. These are things that I teach my sons, and this is what I'm teaching you. So that's how you leverage your cash. It is getting harder and harder to do. And I would say inflation and a lot of things like that have taken its toll on it. So it's getting harder and harder to leverage cash, but it still can be done. Now, if you go back to that first banking method I told you, it's better to do that once with a large amount of money. You take 100 grand and you ask to borrow two. Okay, it's better to do that one time than to try to do it 5 little times. It's better to do it once. Okay, because I mean, it can get you in some hot water for real. Um, so there's that, man. If you got any questions about that, also, I want you to remember to take your cash and buy something, a buffer, not a car. Banks hate cars. You're smart enough, you know, but buy a buffer in between. Buy housing, something, land, something in between. Hell, you can buy a business and go try and take out a loan, you know, a line of credit on that. But buy something in between because banks love buffers. That's what I like to call it, a buffer. It's where I traded my cash for something. Bank loves something hard standing. They love something tangible that they can reach out and touch or take from you. They love that. They don't really care about you because they realize that they can't do a lot to you, but they can grab your stuff and they like that. So anything tangible that they can take is a great buffer. So if you buy something that they would like, and you know, a good hard, I know you understand what I'm saying, man. I'm beating a dead horse, but it's for everybody else around here. It's for everybody else out there that they like a hard, tangible asset to grab because they can only do so much to you as a human being, but they can damn sure take whatever you've accumulated for yourself and take it away from you. And they like that. So if you need me to explain these things, guys, anything micro, macro, or leveraging cash in another way, feel free to ask me. I do not mind. I do not mind at all. And if you guys have any advice, there's some of you guys in the comments with great net worth that have great business experience. Please feel free to leave it in the comments below because there are things that I try not to make these videos too long because I mean, I end up losing people. There are things that I can only teach and tell in a certain amount of time on YouTube. So if you guys have anything, feel free to leave it in the comments and make sure you read the comments to those because there's a wealth of knowledge in this comment section. Other than that, guys, I really think that is, oh, wait, James Jackalone. Hey, that's a James Jackalone, 5486. He said 100 to 150 turning into 200K a year. I hope I've explained that enough for you to understand. This whole channel has been about getting guys from a low income to their first 6 figures, and it's been about what you do with 6 figures to turn it into, you know, honestly 100. It's been about what you do with 100, 150 to turn it into 250, $300,000. Whatever you did to get that 100, 150, man, you're going to have to double down. You're going to have to do more. If you want to take, honestly, I would take 100, 150 and I'd be trying to turn it into $1 million. So you need to stack cash and you need to start investing in real estate or some high income producing asset, something with a high turnover. And real estate's it. Flipping houses for me is it right now until I get to where I want to go. So flipping houses is the game for me. And it's not the end goal, but it's the game that I'm playing right now until I get to where I want to go. The end goal for me is to own a real hard, tried and true, made in America type business. I'm chasing the railroad. I am chasing sand and gravel. I'm chasing something with some meat to it. I'm chasing something that I can honestly leave behind. I can't flip houses and feel comfortable leaving that behind. I can't. I can't even, honestly, I don't even look at real estate as a good investment to leave behind. I just don't. You can. I personally don't. It has too much control over it from, you know, bigger government entities than I am right now. So I can't look at it and be like, oh, that's what I want to leave behind. I just don't. I don't look at it in that light. So I'm definitely chasing things with some meat to them, man. I'm looking for made in America. I really am. I'm looking for that. I would like each and every one of you, man, to go check out the RJ Corman story. If you feel like, like I told you, there are things that haunt me, you're a gladiator, you're fighting for your freedom. I would like you to go check out the RJ Corman story and check that dude out, and tell me what you think about that video in the comments below. Anyways, man, you guys have a great freaking day. I hope I explained everything. If you have any more questions, guys, leave them in the comments below. I'll try to explain it a different way. If you got any value out of this, man, please smash that like button. Push me through the algorithm so other people can get the message. I'm just trying to wake people up. Anyways, man, you guys have a great freaking day. Have a good day at work. Take care.